This video isn't my norm, but it needs to be said, because if I don't do it, no one will. For our newbies out there watching, my name is Starla Moore. I'm the founder of the Handmade Alpha Academy for Etsy sellers, and I'm a manager at eRank.com. And I don't know about you, but it seems like things have been getting really weird in the world of Etsy ever since the start of the recession. Maybe it's just because I'm around it a lot and I'm stuck in this YouTube Etsy echo chamber, but I know at least a handful of you sense the chaos too, because my inbox seems to always be loaded with the latest bad advice, drama, or even lies that could seriously hurt your business, and I tend to just stay out of all that stuff. Here on my channel, we focus on science and data. When I create a video or Mark and I speak on behalf of a specific topic related to Etsy or SEO, we make it a point to always check our sources, or if we're speculating, we try to always point it out. And yes, we've been wrong in the past. When you've been doing this as long as we have, occasionally you get things wrong, and you have to go back and correct things. It's one of the things that I value most about being an educator, and it's something that I taught last week at my old high school during a class that I taught to their computer graphic arts program. By the way, if you're one of the juniors who I hung out with, be sure to say hi in the comments. But I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that it's okay to be wrong. And you'll be wrong a lot less often if you do intensive research before you claim proficiency in a topic. Which brings me to my point. Ever since the start of the recession, I'm seeing more and more bad advice related to Etsy, SEO, and business in general. And the craziest thing is, no one seems to care when facts are presented. Well, you guys care, obviously, because most of you who have followed me for a while have your ears especially tuned for the BS. You're like little bloodhounds that can sniff out BS from a mile away, and for that, I applaud you. But I don't really have a lot of subscribers, and I have less subscribers than a lot of the YouTubers who sensationalize bad advice, because, as we all know, clickbait leads to clicks. People see the flashy headline about making a bunch of money and they become starry-eyed with possibilities. But often, the results in these videos don't necessarily translate over to actual sales in your own shop. And I'm sure you know this if you've watched any of these videos. Clickbait is unfortunately necessary if you want to get your videos seen in a world where everything is catered to grab attention quickly. Even this video's thumbnail was crafted to draw as much attention as possible. And that's fine. That's what YouTubers have to do. That's business, baby. But when you utilize clickbait, or at least when I utilize clickbait, I always try to cover exactly what the thumbnail or the title entails. Or even better, I try to add even more value than what the clickbait entails so that the viewer can walk away with even more knowledge than they expected. Under promise, over deliver. And clickbait and myths aside, this isn't even the biggest issue. People have been doing these things for years. They likely won't stop anytime soon. And honestly, I'm okay with that because it gives me an endless well of content to pull from for my own channel. But what I'm not okay with is the exploitation of vulnerable demographics for the sake of making money. Let me be fully transparent. I sell an Etsy course. It doesn't open again until December, but I do sell one and I do make a lot of money from that program. However, what I do not do is bully my followers into buying it, tell my followers that they will not be successful unless they buy it, provide paywalls within my content that can only be unlocked with a credit card, or prey upon vulnerable demographics with the bold claims that my program is a magical money-making solution. Because it's not. It's work. You don't magically become a doctor just because you went to medical school. You have to actually apply what you learned. Which leads me to the catalyst of this entire video. When you hear a piece of advice on YouTube, or a success secret, or some other tip that seems obscure, always ask for a legitimate source where this information can be fact-checked. It's also important to ask yourself, what is the motivation behind this advice? There are very few people in the world willing to put hours and hours into being especially helpful without gaining anything for themselves. The same way that you're not watching this video to help me up my view count. You're doing it because you want to know why Starla is mad all of a sudden, especially since Starla is never mad. When people create content that drives fear, anger, confusion, or causes you to second guess yourself, then they paint themselves as a magical solution to the problem that they just created in your mind. It's very likely that they're attempting to guide you through a desired action that benefits them. That's marketing. I create free resources all the time. You sign up to get them, you land on my mailing list, I'm able to send you more free resources and video trainings. Then when the Handmade Alpha Academy opens, you get notified about it. And it's my hope that by that time, you and I have built enough of a relationship that you're able to make an educated decision about whether or not to choose me as a coach. I consider this to be ethical marketing, and I have a handful of other coaches that I'm planning to recommend in the next few months who also value trust building over cold selling. But lately, I'm seeing less of this business model and more people who are prioritizing the almighty dollar over the people that they say they want to help. They spew myths as if they're facts and sell solutions to problems that they are making up along the way. We have a viewer who I'm sure is watching this video right now who messaged me about an $8,000 coaching program that she purchased that taught completely false information about Etsy SEO and eRank. Information that would have been easy enough for the coaches to look up if they'd taken 10 minutes out of their day to do so. It doesn't matter how many myth debunking videos I make. It doesn't matter how much I warn sellers about scams and unethical coaches. They'll keep popping up because it's easy money. In fact, I recently had a fake Etsy SEO service steal some of my content on Instagram. Then when I started badgering them about Etsy SEO, they attempted to spew a bit of techie sounding Google SEO lingo my way that was completely unrelated to Etsy. A quick reverse image search of their profile picture told me that the images and videos that they were using were stolen from a popular model, which they admitted to stealing because pictures of sexy women are better for business, apparently. And this isn't news to you or me. I wasn't trying to prove anything in that instance. Scammers have been doing shady things like this ever since the early Nigerian prince scams of the 90s. But it just goes to show how common the issue is. And with a bit of techie sounding lingo, how someone who knows absolutely nothing about Etsy, SEO, business, or any other given topic can prey on those who don't know any better. Speaking with conviction does not make you an authority on a subject when your statements cannot be sourced with facts. If you try to turn in a college paper with no cited sources, you fail. The same rules apply. Having decent sales in your own Etsy shop or business does not mean that you are qualified to advise others. Listing quality scores influence success, and those quality scores can be built through a number of different means. You could have the worst SEO in the world and still rank above your competitors for a listing that was promoted by a site like BuzzFeed simply because that listing has a better quality score. The advice you give does not necessarily translate to the majority. Otherwise, everyone here who's watched a video about making tons of money on Etsy would also be making tons of money on Etsy as a result. And lastly, if every piece of content that you create dead ends at a paywall solution to a problem that you've posed, you likely aren't in this industry because you care about helping the community that you're attempting to represent. And honestly, that's fine. We all have different means to put food on our tables. But be honest in your content. Provide good information. Do your research before attempting to claim authority in a topic, and cite your sources. There are plenty of YouTubers who I don't necessarily get along with or agree with on a personal level, but who I can still respect simply because I see the work that they put in, and I can see the love that they hold for their communities. And there are YouTubers who I love, who I share a personal philosophy with, and who are authentic and ethical in their sales practices. Here are a few that you can go follow right now. Look, I don't want to draw this out any longer than I have to. I'm sure I'm already going to have a lot of hate in the comments for being dramatic or whatever, but that's fine. Next week, I'll be back to posting my usual Etsy holiday content, and you can get a full playlist of my most valuable videos right up here in the meantime. But just be careful, guys. The recession has scammers and fake experts getting desperate. I've been getting so many emails about it that I thought making a video would be my best bet. Stay cautious. Stay safe, never be afraid to ask tough questions, and always ask for sources. You're not just Etsy sellers, you're Etsy scientists, so stay skeptical and never settle for less than facts. I love you guys.